My name is Michelle, and I'm 41. My husband and I both work full-time jobs, and we're constantly busy cheering on our son, who's all about soccer these days. Back when I was in school, parents rarely went along to support their kids' extracurriculars, but with my middle school-aged son's soccer club, parents take turns helping out. Honestly, it can feel like a lot after a full day at work. Since I want to support my son, who's eager to win the league championship, I won't be slacking on those practice support duties either. This year, the team's starting lineup is packed with driven and talented kids, and team morale is soaring. Both my son and I are giving our all toward that long-awaited championship. Naturally, that brings some parent involvement into the mix. You know, the so-called soccer mom friendships. It's been giving me a bit of a headache lately, though.
Hey, Michelle, you really need to get here earlier.
Karen, who is our soccer mom leader, said, even though it's 10 minutes before the official meeting time.
Oh. I thought I was on time. Plus, I assume a few other people haven't shown up yet, right?
Right. For some reason, she always seems to single me out.
Well, Michelle, you make such a big deal about how hard it is juggling a job and everything. You don't even bother with makeup, nor come to our get-togethers for coffee.
She says that, but I don't remember ever making a big deal out of my situation. Sure, I don't wear makeup, and it's true I can't meet for coffee in the middle of the day. Indeed, it's also related to my work. However, that has nothing to do with meeting times for the soccer club.
You know, if you have to work just to get by, you shouldn't have joined a soccer club in the first place.
What?
This club is for children of stay-at-home moms with enough time and money to keep up.
Karen says bluntly.
But...
I was about to respond when the other moms started arriving, making it hard to keep the conversation going. My son's a starter, and the soccer club itself is a great environment with nice moms, except that every time I see Karen, I just feel uneasy. I tried keeping some distance from her, but...
We live on the top floor of that high-rise, the 40th floor.
One weekend, during a break between practice matches, Karen pointed to what everyone called Kitty Tower, a luxury 40-story high-rise that had become something of a local landmark.
Oh, really?
I responded, a bit taken aback but nodding along.
Oh, it's really nothing special, just a high-rise. The three of us live there, so it's way too big, and without housekeepers, cleaning would be a nightmare.
I didn't really know how to respond, but another mom chimed in.
Oh, yeah. Floors above the 34th are single-family per floor with a full 360 degrees view. Such luxury.
Karen beamed with pride at that.
Oh, really? Well, sorry, but I need to swap out with my husband. Gotta head out now.
Since my husband had worked the morning shift, he was taking over in the afternoon so I could go to work. The other moms waved me off with warm wishes like, "Take care," but Karen smirked and said,
Wow, you two are always hustling. Well, good luck with that. We're all grabbing coffee after the game, by the way.
Oh, right. Enjoy.
With no time for further chit-chat, I hurried off to work. The following week.
Hey, Michelle, is it true you live in a single-family house?
Karen's loud voice called out to me, for everyone's benefit.
After you left last week, I got talking to your husband about your place, and he said you live in a house. Is that right?
Well, yes.
I gave a vague response for the time being. I had a bad feeling about this. Sensing my hesitation, Karen flashed a sly grin.
When I asked about your place, your husband invited me over whenever we get the chance. So I'll take him up on that and come by.
Well, that was just...
It was merely a polite invitation, but she seemed set on actually visiting.
Hey, don't you all want to see Michelle's house too? If she's saying we're welcome, it must be something she's proud of. My place may be a fancy high-rise, but I'd feel a little self-conscious inviting everyone over. I wouldn't want it to look like I'm showing off, you know?
This all seemed to be news to me. If my husband had genuinely invited her, I'm sure he would have mentioned it. However, with Karen practically twisting my arm, I was at a loss for words. I tried to come up with an excuse, but Karen was already roping in the other moms.
They say wealthy folks do home tours, right? Well, it's probably a smaller place anyway, so it doesn't need to be a full tour. Right, everyone? But wouldn't it be nice to get to know Michelle a bit better? She's always too busy to join us for coffee. Let's have a little tea party at her place. Michelle, we'll work around your schedule.
Karen even started discussing potential dates. I kept trying to politely decline, but she wouldn't back down, reminding me that my husband was the one who extended the invitation. Power moves are just part of Karen's game, and I've usually brushed it off to avoid drama, but this persistence was starting to grate on my nerves.
No worries. It must be a house you couldn't afford without dual incomes. Even if it's not that luxurious, we can at least appreciate your effort.
At that moment, something inside me snapped.
Fine. You're welcome to come over.
If she wanted to look down on me and my family's dual income life, so be it, but belittling my husband, I couldn't tolerate.
Oh, really? Well, I'll be sure to take you up on it. I just hope there's room for everyone. Will we all fit?
Karen smirked victoriously.
Please, avoid the end of the month. My family's going abroad. I mean, I'm used to it, but the prep work is such a hassle. And honestly, with all the travel, it just gets a little tiresome.
It was clear she wanted to keep herself on top of the social ladder. Frankly, I was done with these interactions. Plus, I'd noticed that Karen's jabs at me were starting to make the other moms uncomfortable, too. If this continued, it could hurt the team's morale, so I dared to go ahead and host the tour. The day of the home tour finally arrived. As I waited at the designated spot, Karen pulled up in her car, first to arrive.
Thanks for meeting us out here. So, where's the parking? Oh, and by the way, I told everyone to drive separately since you mentioned yesterday that there would be parking space.
Karen announced with a smirk. It was obvious she was trying to poke fun, considering her phone call yesterday had gone like this.
Hey, Michelle, do you happen to have parking? You know, smaller houses sometimes don't have enough room, and folks end up renting separate spots. Did you manage to secure on-site parking?
Right. Karen's question was only about whether we had parking at our house. She didn't actually ask if it was okay for her to drive over on the day of the visit. I certainly never said that everyone coming today should bring their cars. However,
Oh, I see. You can all park over there. There should be more than enough space for everyone.
I pointed toward a nearby empty lot.
Oh, all right then.
Karen muttered with a slight scowl.
Lucky there's a lot nearby.
As she grumbled, the other moms began to arrive.
Looks like everyone's here. So, Michelle, thanks again for having us. Is that your house over there? It's so cute and cozy. Really suits you.
Karen laughed, barely able to contain herself, pointing at the house behind me.
Having a smaller home so close to such a big, gorgeous property nearby, wow, that must feel humbling. I mean, you certainly went with what fits your, lifestyle.
Some of the other moms were taken aback by Karen's loud laugh, as it was a bit too harsh, so I quickly spoke up.
Oh, no, our house is over there. This building here is where our house staff live.
When Karen turned to look where I pointed, she burst out laughing again.
Oh, behind the mansion. We can't even see it from here, can we? Well, let's go then.
Before she could take more than a few steps,
Karen? The entrance is right here.
I called out and opened the front gate to my house.
What? Wait, this is your house? No way.
Karen stunned. Right. The mansion Karen had assumed was someone else's was actually mine. The empty lot was a space where we were considering building a soccer field for my son to practice on. What Karen had thought was my cute little house was actually the building for the house staff.
Please, come in. We went with a modern Asian style,
I said, leading them across a mossy, beautifully manicured front yard. At the entrance, a housekeeper welcomed me back with "Welcome home, ma'am," and helped with everyone's coats. At that moment, my friend Annie popped by unexpectedly.
Michelle, I saw something cute while I was out, so I got it for you. Oh, am I interrupting?
She began to turn back when she noticed the soccer moms, but the other moms insisted she stay and join us for tea.
Oh, how nice. It's one of those houses where friends just drop by unannounced, huh?
Karen muttered, sounding slightly deflated, but I continued showing everyone inside.
We'll do a full house tour in a bit. For now, please have a seat, and we'll bring some tea and snacks.
You're kidding me.
In the spacious room I led them to, Karen murmured, half-dazed. With the doors open to the courtyard on this sunny day, the gravel pathway and lawn beyond stood out beautifully, and the pond surface shimmered in the light.
A garden and a pond. All within the property?
Karen's jaw dropped.
You are more than welcome to walk around outside. My husband designed both the house and the garden, so he'd love to hear your thoughts.
I explained, just as the housekeepers began bringing in tea and refreshments.
These treats are from my company. We're planning to release them soon, so I'd love to hear what you think.
The moms cheered with delight at the adorable presentation of the treats that the housekeepers had arranged.
Michelle, your own company, and this house designed by your husband? You must have been pretending to be some struggling working mom just to make a fool out of me.
After staying silent for a while, Karen finally spoke up and made an outrageous accusation.
Pretending? Come on, Karen. You've never asked.
I replied, feeling tired of her antics.
Well, since we're here, let me introduce myself. I own a company that specializes in modern Asian-style suites, so I can't wear makeup for hygiene reasons, and because of my position, I usually can't join your midday coffee gatherings. As for my husband, he runs his architecture firm, so yes, we're both working.
The other moms gave me a round of applause, but Karen's mood soured noticeably.
Whatever. Who cares about a big house? I live on the 40th floor of a high-rise.
Karen muttered, now visibly annoyed. Before I could say anything, Annie, standing beside me, suddenly clapped her hands together with a grin.
Michelle, is this the infamous 40th floor lady?
I nodded in response to Annie, who spoke cheerfully. Annie turned to Karen with a playful look.
Hey, you're the one living on the 40th floor of that kiddie tower, right?
Karen looked surprised by the question, but, bolstered by Annie's interest, she regained her usual confident demeanor.
Yes. And what of it?
With a smug expression and crossed arms, Karen stood there as Annie spoke up.
So, can you tell us what your place looks like? Like, the view from your unit or your home itself? You must have photos on your phone, right? Would love to see them.
Annie tilted her head cutely, and the other moms joined in, saying they'd love to see pictures too. But,
Oh, I'm sorry. When I live there, it just becomes so normal that I don't think of taking pictures. So no, I don't have any on my phone.
Karen put on a face of seeming disappointment. Annie let out a huge laugh at this.
What? What's so funny?
Karen snapped, clearly annoyed.
Oh, nothing. It's just impressive. You must be so used to it that you don't even take photos. I mean, I still take endless shots of every sunrise and sunset.
Annie held up her phone, displaying a beautiful sunset against a familiar skyline.
Oh, that's the exact same view as in the ad for Kiddie Tower. how beautiful, and there's your cat, Bella, in the shot.
I couldn't help but gush at the sight of the lovely scenery and Bella's adorable cameo.
Ah, what are you talking about?
Karen scowled. I decided it was time to set the record straight.
Annie here? She's the real resident on the 40th floor of Kitty Tower.
What?
Karen let out a small gasp as Annie pulled out her actual key, designed exclusively for the upper floors of Kitty Tower.
And if that's not proof enough, you're welcome to come by later if you'd like.
Annie smiled, but Karen's face turned pale.
Occasionally, the front desk gets inquiries asking if my place is Karen's home, and I've always found that a bit odd. Now I get it, you're the Karen they're talking about.
Annie's smile faded as her expression turned sharp.
It's honestly a nuisance.
Faced with Annie, the real resident of the luxury high-rise, Karen looked ready to collapse.
Oh, well,
It appeared she had been claiming to live on the 40th floor of Kitty Tower, not only to the soccer moms, but in various other places too.
So, what's the real story here? I guess I'll have to set things straight next time one of your friends inquires.
Annie pressed, and Karen's trembling hands and knees looked like those of a newborn deer as she tried to back away.
Tell the truth.
no.
Confronted by a visibly upset Annie blocking her escape, Karen froze, but there was no getting out of it.
I live on the first floor.
Her shoulders slumped as she finally confessed.
Oh, I see. The first floor. So if you count backward, that's the top floor. Should we applaud you for the clever joke?
Though Annie's tone was playful, she was clearly upset, and the other moms cast cold looks at Karen.
You know, some people actually choose the lower floors on purpose. It's easier to sell since it retains its value better, and the access is easier in case of emergencies. But I guess that wasn't your reason, right, Karen?
As I asked,
Oh, I have to go. Goodbye.
Karen quickly mumbled her goodbyes and hurried off.
It's a luxury building either way. She didn't have to lie about living on the 40th floor.
I murmured, half to myself, and Annie laughed.
See, Michelle, you wouldn't know since you've only ever lived in houses, but in a high-rise, the lower and upper floors have vastly different prices. The floor you live on can determine your social standing, and some people care a lot about that. I chose the high floor because I love the view, but for Karen, I think it was more about the status.
Annie explained, but I simply shook my head, slightly bewildered.
Oh, no way. I'm terrified of heights. That view you showed was beautiful, and I'd love to see it in person, but if I actually went up there, I'd probably freeze up.
After all, my husband built this house as a one-story just for me because of my fear of heights. When I said that, Annie laughed even harder.
Seriously, Karen's such a character, trying to one-up Michelle, of all people. Even if she did live on the 40th floor, there's no way it could compare to this massive single-story estate, built entirely from domestic wood, on this kind of property.
The other moms nodded in agreement with Annie's words. I'm not very knowledgeable about high-rises due to my fear of heights, but if Annie says so, it must be true.
Oh, sorry for disrupting your party.
Annie said apologetically, but honestly, I had agreed to host this gathering as a way to address Karen's constant sniping, and the results were more than satisfying.
Now, how about we enjoy our tea?
And so, we settled in for a wonderful time together. 3 months later, Karen and her family moved far away. Apparently, her top floor story had spread beyond the soccer club, and with other lies catching up to her, she no longer had a place in our town. Hearing that, I grew a bit worried about the soccer team, but without Karen's influence, one of the kids who had been holding back out of deference to her quickly began to shine. Now that they could play to their full potential, the team's performance and camaraderie improved dramatically, making that league championship more attainable than ever.
Just between us, Karen's attitude was really wearing on me.
Thanks to you and your friend, Michelle, I can finally enjoy supporting the soccer club without all the drama. Thank you so much.
It seemed the bonds between the soccer moms had deepened.
Let's go for that championship.
Supporting my energetic child as he runs around alongside my hardworking husband is my greatest joy.